Ben McKee and Ryan Callahan of GoVols 24/7 here on Wednesday of an off week for Tennessee football, but it is Wednesday of signing day, and there has already been several developments for Tennessee, Ryan. Most notably, everybody's wondering what in the world is going on with David Sanders Jr.
Yeah, five-star offensive tackle, been committed to Tennessee since August. Of course, took the visit to Ohio State less than 2 weeks ago. Did not go back there this past weekend. Things seem to have calmed down. There was no expectation going into early signing day that there would be any serious drama there. Lo and behold, he has not signed with Tennessee to this point, and it looks like there's at least a very good chance, Tom Loy and Anna Adams from 24/7 Sports reporting that he will not sign on Wednesday. I hadn't had it confirmed that he definitely would not, but it looked like things were trending in that direction. So either way, there's at least some uncertainty as to when David Sanders will make a final decision, when he will finalize things. I still don't think this means anything all that bad for Tennessee just yet, but obviously anytime you're talking about a player going past the first day of the early signing period, there's some concern about where things go from there. So how long will this play out? What does it mean for Tennessee? We'll have to wait and see, but it's at least a concern.
I would still consider Tennessee the front runner, based off of what I have heard. But like you just said, it's still a concern when he does not put pen to paper.
No question. And this is not something that Tennessee went into the day expecting to happen. That's the biggest thing that makes this a concern for Tennessee. So the fact that it's a sort of an unexpected development and that you now have this uncertainty that you didn't have going into the day, that's obviously not ideal coming out of early signing day.
Yeah, absolutely. A little more bad news. Darion Smith, Baltimore defensive lineman, was trending towards Auburn, does eventually flip from Tennessee to Auburn, signed with Auburn earlier this morning, but Tennessee makes up for it by flipping a Miami commitment in Timothy Merritt from the Birmingham area.
That's right. And, no surprise that Darion Smith went elsewhere. That's been trending toward Auburn for a couple weeks now. Not a devastating loss there for Tennessee. They've already got a few other defensive linemen in this class, most of them higher ranked. So I think that's one where he's probably a bigger deal to Auburn than he was to Tennessee. And in the case of Timothy Merritt, that's a potentially really big addition, a guy they've really prioritized for months now. They hosted him on an official visit actually 5 days after he committed to Miami back in the summer. Never gave up there, kept pushing, got him back on campus in the fall, and then flip him in the end. And it's making up for at least one loss in the secondary and potentially a second, depending on what happens with Onis Konanbanny. He has not made any final decision yet, will not sign today, and it sounds like may not during the early sign period as well. So there's at least the door open there, but that one was trending toward Florida. You've already lost Shady Hayward. Timothy Merritt gives you a potential cornerback, but just a versatile defensive back as well, who can at least offset that loss.
Yeah, and aside from Shady Hayward, fans may be concerned about some flips. To me, it's just the nature of college football recruiting at the moment. It's always been kind of the nature of the sport, but I think even more so now with NIL involved. But although it wasn't perfect, Tennessee did do a pretty good job of hanging on to the vast majority of its commitments that had schools breathing down their necks.
Yeah, all things considered, this could have gone worse. Now, of course, we're saying this without knowing what's going to happen with David Sanders, but as long as nothing too crazy happens there, they've done a decent job of getting this class to the finish line. There was some concern about Christian Gass at one point. No worries with Georgia down the stretch. Travis Smith, took a visit at one point. Nothing major. Just went to the game and didn't even sit in the recruiting section at Georgia. But Georgia was still recruiting him, and Auburn was in there at one point earlier in the season. So a couple of those guys that they had some competition for, they were able to hold on for without any serious drama at the end. That's always a big deal, especially when you're talking about four-star, and in Travis Smith's case, high-level four-star prospects.
And there's still potential for good news later today by the time this video is posted as well.
Absolutely. Four-star defensive lineman Isaiah Campbell, a top 50 prospect nationally out of North Carolina, former Clemson commitment, making his final decision late Wednesday afternoon. That one has been trending Tennessee's direction. So I would say the Vols are the clear favorites going into that one. And then also Jaden Perlotti. We don't know yet exactly when he'll be announcing his final decision, but expect that one later in the day. As of right now, the USC commitment four-star linebacker from Buford, Georgia. So Tennessee's been deep in the picture with him for a long time now. Looked like at the end of the summer they might get him. He ends up taking a visit to USC and committing to the Trojans right after. Now, in the end, it looks like it might go Tennessee's way, but still got to get that one to the finish line.
What are your thoughts on holes that need to be filled within this recruiting class? And, of course, now with the transfer portal about to open and being open for the next month or so, it seems like most of the holes will be filled through the portal. But what are some of those positions that you expect Tennessee, whether it be the portal, whether it be the high school ranks, leading up to the signing day in the spring period? What are some holes that you're looking at for Tennessee to try and fill?
Yeah, I think in the transfer portal, kind of a whole separate discussion, but I think offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver, those are positions they're for sure going to address. And I would expect the secondary, potentially corner and safety, but we'll see how that plays out. But those are positions Tennessee will at least look at what's out there, I think. And then we'll see beyond that. It might depend on who else ends up leaving. Khalifa Keith in the transfer portal, for instance, I don't think that's going to make Tennessee go get another running back. There's probably some anticipation that someone might leave there, so they might be okay now with the addition of DeJuan Morris and Justin Baker. But the departures like that can always impact what you do going forward. So wouldn't expect Tennessee to do a whole lot with high school players in February, but you never know. We'll see who doesn't sign. But yeah, in the transfer portal, I would expect them to be pretty active, especially at those positions I mentioned.
When we pressed record on this video, Tennessee was at 10th in the recruiting rankings. Yeah. What are your last thing before we get out of here? Your overall thoughts on Tennessee's class as it sits here on December 4th?
It's a really good class, and it has been for a while. There was a potential for this class to be ranked a little bit higher than it is right now if you held on to Shady Hayward, obviously, and he's not, as at this point, not announced his final decision, but that one's been going Florida's direction, so it'd be a shock if that's not the Gators. So if you hold on to him, some other things go your way down the stretch. You maybe could have finished a little bit higher, but all things considered, this is going to be a solidified top 10 class with the likely addition of Isaiah Campbell. That's a big bump, a top 50 player nationally. So assuming he picks Tennessee, that's going to solidify the Vols standing in the top 10. And it's been a long time since they signed a class this highly ranked. It's going to be the highest ranked class, it looks like, since Butch Jones's top 5 class in 2015. So obviously a big step for Tennessee, and clearly the best class Tennessee signed under Josh Heupel.
Where can people follow you and your work to keep up with all recruiting coverage throughout the rest of today and throughout the signing period? And it's a good time to sign up for Go Vols 24/7 at the moment through the rest of the year and into January.
Absolutely. 50% off right now for your first year as an annual subscriber. So go take advantage of that deal on signing day and beyond. And then also check out the site, govols247.com. Tons of coverage, some of it free, some of it behind the paywall, but lots for everybody to check out on a day like today especially.
Twitter handle?
At Ryan Callahan 247.
There you go. He's Ryan Callahan. I'm Ben McKee.